Good morning, good afternoon or good evening everybody. Welcome back to my YouTube channel and to my new workshop. Today I'm going to be starting a brand new layout build in here, the first one of the new shop. The first thing I have to do is cut some plywood strips on the table saw, and I'm going to start on the lower level benchwork today. So stay tuned and let's get busy. Well, that's the first two sections framed up and bolted together. I haven't leveled them yet. I'm going to do that tomorrow. It's already plenty late enough. Anyway, that is all of the lower level that I'm going to be building, because it is entirely for staging. There's no scenic areas down there, and the staging yards are confined to the two long outside walls. There's nothing under the peninsula, and I'm not building the two long walls. The client is going to do that himself, because he feels that's a lot simpler. I'm just doing the complex bits. So tomorrow I've just got to get it leveled, get the tops on. There's some slight complexities because they're not all at one grade. The staging yard is at 25.5 inches, and the auxiliary staging has to drop down 3/4 of an inch to miss the bottom of the helix. Well, this morning I got the frames leveled and the first two pieces of plywood in. Most of the time was involved in getting the grade smooth down so that this auxiliary staging yard can drop out of the helix. It needed to drop about 3/4 of an inch just to give enough clearance, because where the helix passes over it in the front at this point, it's only done about 3/4 of a lap. Anyway, next step is to get a piece in this area. I'm going to put a solid top on and then cut out where the helix goes and lift it up. And obviously most of that big square in the middle is an access opening. Let me get on with that and I'll be right back. Don't go away. Well, I've now done most of the marking out for the helix and the reversing loop. There's a lot of lines, I know, but I know which one's which. These four equally spaced are the inside and outside of the road bed for the double track helix. This one and this one are the edges of the sub road bed, and then the two that go around the middle are the reversing loop. Note how that is not quite concentric with the helix. It's offset a couple of inches to allow for the additional staging over the other side. And also it doesn't have to be such a large radius. It's about 21 inches radius, which is more than enough for N scale. The helix is larger to allow for a better grade. I want to make sure that I've finished drawing circles before I cut out the hole in the middle, because at the moment, with the piece still there, it's easy. As soon as I cut it away, it gets more difficult. I also need an extra triangle in here. Not that it really needs to be there, but it makes it easier if I have a firm deck, if I have a level deck on which to build the helix. So let me continue, and I will be right back. Well, that is the base plywood screwed down everywhere it can be. I haven't raised the start of the helix into place yet. This piece here, which is the transition to the start of the helix, is not attached yet. It's slightly complicated in that I want the transition into the vertical curve to start a few inches onto this board. I'm not sure whether I should put cuts in there and this side and then jam a piece of cardboard in there or not, or if I should just fill it. I'll think about it overnight, and I will do that when I'm ready to install the bottom of the helix properly. I've had enough fun for the day. I've got a lot of stuff I need to take care of inside, so I'm going to go in now, get cleaned up, and I'll see you on Monday. Don't go away. With the flat deck under the helix on this railroad, I had to use a slightly different method of starting it. I did that this morning. You can see I've got these two parallel saw cuts allowing the middle piece to be lifted up. and then I just put shims in under each benchwork joist. I made them up of multiple thicknesses of this 2mm plywood left over from my Fast Tracks turnouts. So I have 1 at the first joist and 4 at the second, and then I start adding thicker bits of plywood at the third. I have a splice plate already attached to the one piece, and most of the first slab already cut out and cut to shape. I haven't jacked it up yet. I'm going to make a series of progressively taller risers to put under it every foot or so. This wing that sticks out the front is to help support it over the auxiliary staging yard. This 12.5-inch wide low-level section is going to have closely spaced parallel tracks, so there's no room for supports. So I will put 1 at the front edge, and then 2 more at the back, there and there. This wing is still way oversized. I will cut it to the right size when I know exactly where it's going to be, but for the time being I just wanted to leave it. I just wanted to make sure I had plenty of material there. Anyway, I am now ready to get that installed, so don't go away. I will check in with you again later. Well, it's been a while since I've been out here. Last time was over a week ago when I got the grade corrected at the bottom of the Helix. It wasn't quite right the first time, and I had to shim it a bit. I goofed up and didn't order the track early enough, and I ended up having to wait over a week for it to arrive. Anyway, it got here yesterday. 2 boxes of Pico Flex track. There are only 2 turnouts on the portion of the railroad that I'm building for a right-hand crossover, so I got those as well. I got a bunch of rail joiners. I also ordered a well car and 2 high cube containers to test clearances. Here are the containers, but if we look at the well car that came with it, something's wrong here. That looks a bit big. They sent me an HO scale 1 instead of an N scale 1. So I'm not able to test those clearances just yet. Anyway, I went online on eBay and I found one with 3-day shipping. And I ordered that last night rather than have to go back and wait again. I looked at this hobby store's website first and they didn't have any in stock. So there's no point in even calling them up. I will ultimately need an HO scale 1 anyway in the future. So I may as well just keep it. Anyway, today I should be able to get all the foam roadbed installed and at least start on the track. I don't know if I'm going to get all the track done on the first lap of the Helix. First thing to do is the reversing loop that goes around just inside the Helix. And then I need the auxiliary storage tracks under that low area there, because that'll be difficult to reach afterwards. I'm not necessarily going to put those in all the way, the full length, just enough so that the client can reach the rail ends and add to it later. And if you've been watching my videos for any length of time, you'll already know the procedure for Helixes. Basically, 1 lap of sub-roadbed, then roadbed, then track, then wiring, and then repeat for as many laps as I need. So I'm just going to turn the camera off now and get to work. Don't go away. Oh, I forgot to mention, I haven't wasted the time. I have taken the opportunity to put a whole load of storage hangers on the wall in the area that I'm working, so I can organize the parts that I need more easily. Here's my master rolls for the roadbed, for the foam roadbed that I sell, on the wall out of the way, and everything else hung up there as well. I found these bins at Walmart. Those are $5 each. They come with a lid, although I'm not quite sure what to use the lid for. And they've got some exactly twice the size for $1 more. As I say, I'm not quite sure what to use the lids for, and I'm guessing that there's a lot of other people that feel the same way, because although Walmart are pretty much out of stock of the bins, they have a big pile of lids of each size, even though they're supposed to come with the lids. I guess a lot of people don't bother to pick them up. These storage cabinets, these are also pretty cheap. I got them on Amazon. They're made by Sterilite, and the more you buy, the cheaper they are. I got 16 of them for $100 and something. I think it was like $170 with shipping, something like that, for 16. You can buy them in smaller numbers, but they cost a few dollars more. The other 12 are going inside in my basement. I just thought it'd be worth sharing that with you. In order to get better access to the return loop where it goes under the Helix, and also to the auxiliary staging yard, I have removed the sub-road bed for the Helix. Here it is, just hanging on the wall where I can't trip over it or break it. I put the foam road bed in. Now it's time to get the track out and start laying that. Before I can do that, I need to go inside and get some weights. So don't go away, I'll be right back. Well, that is the reversing loop installed. I've not used this Pico Code 55 track before, and it took me a while to get the hang of it. I actually destroyed several rail joiners before I even got the first piece laid. But after that I figured out how to use them. Here is my method of holding the rail ends in alignment while the glue sets. I cut a strip of wood on my table saw exactly the right width, and then cut it into blocks about 1.25 inches to 1.5 inches long. It's got to be done pretty accurately because they need to be exactly the right width to hold the track straight without spreading the gauge. So once I got them right, but before I adjusted the table saw, I cut myself another piece. I'm just going to keep that in storage in case I need some more in future. Next step is to do the auxiliary staging yard, which is this area at the front with the wide sheet of rubber road bed. So let me get on with that and I'll be right back. Don't go away. Well, in addition to the low-level reversing loop, the auxiliary staging area has now been laid. The straight track went really quickly. Doesn't take long at all, especially doing a lot of parallel tracks. I just mark it out and lay it with a 5-foot straight edge. Anyway, that's all the weights I have, but it's also a good time to go in and get some lunch. So I'm going to leave it like that for now, and then I'll come back and do the bottom lap of the Helix this afternoon. So don't go away, I'll check in with you again later. Well, I've just been inside, taken a nice long leisurely lunch break, and I've removed the Mountain Dew cans from the reversing loop. That's the bit that's been down the longest, so I get those weights put away. The sub-road bed for the bottom lap of the Helix is just resting in place right now. I think I'm going to remove the bricks from underneath it before I screw it down, because there's not a lot of clearance underneath it and I don't want to be dragging them across the rails. So let me get rid of the rest of the weights, install the sub-road bed and continue from there. Don't go away. Well, that is the track laid on the first lap of the Helix. It's 4 yards on each track and the crossover at the base. It's just one of a pair of crossovers. The one that goes the other way is just here on the other board, where I'm not actually going to be laying the track. That will be for the customer to do. Next thing I'm going to get on with is bus wires, and if I have time I'll start on the feeders. So don't go away, I will check in with you again later. Well, although you can't see it from the top, I have installed all the bus wires. Here are my wire dispensers hung on the French cleats. But what I really wanted to show you is a new tool that I bought recently. So let's just put the camera on the tripod so I can show you. It's this wire crimper. Let me strip the end of this piece of wire here, just like that. And then I have these ferrules in all the different sizes of wire that I use. Just slip it on the end and squeeze it with the crimper. Now in this case, I got the ends a little bit on the long side, so I can just trim them off. And that gives a really neat connection. When I put it in one of these terminal blocks and tighten the screw, it doesn't mess the end up, so it's a lot easier to reinstall it after delivery. I think that gives a much more professional finish than just mashing the wire and the screw. And I even have some double ones like this. That's designed to put 2 wires in the same ferrule. And there it is. Normally it'd be 2 wires the same colour, but I'm just using my scrap. That's a much easier way of getting 2 wires to the same terminal block than to do it without. If I remember, I'll put a link below in the description to where I found the tool. Well, that is a really good sign. I've just wired up 1 feeder to each rail, put a locomotive on the track, and it started right up. So no problems so far. Everything is working reliably. At the moment, I've got temporary jumpers joining the 3 sections together, but those will be removed when the client sets up the layout in his room with all the power districts. So with that testing done, it's time to continue around the Helix and wire up the other 3 sets of feeders. Well, that's all for this instalment. There will be many more to come, and I hope to see you back each week for a regular update as the project progresses. I did notice something that I thought was quite interesting. I started this project round about the beginning of May of this year, and as I am recording this sign-off clip in the second half of July, the project is nearing completion. I just thought that would be interesting throwing out there. Anyway, I'll see you back next week, same time, same place. And in the meantime, have a great week. Thanks for watching, and bye for now. The first one in the new location.